My dear friends in Jesus Christ, saints are people recognized specifically by the Catholic Church as an exceptionally holy being. The first saint established on October 12, 2008 in India was Her Benevolence St Alphonsa. St Alphonsa is a very prominent holy figure in our Catholic Church. This is indicated by the life she led whilst here on earth. Due to this very reason alone, our first Syro-Malabar Eparchy of Great Britain, founded in Preston, was named after St Alphonsa. She lived a very modest yet exceptional life as a young girl, and it was clear from a very young age that she was destined to be a bride of Christ. Throughout her childhood, she was a very helpful individual, both in her personal and public life. She always put others' needs before her own and tried to maintain a holiness in every aspect of her life. In this day and age, we try to enhance our beauty in various different ways for our own selfish needs, but St. Alphonsa was willing to sacrifice her beauty in order to devote herself wholly to God. St. Alphonsa's parents wanted her to fulfill her life through marriage, even though she was determined to devote her life to the Lord. To avoid the marital status that had been forced upon her, she walked on fire to diminish her beauty and prove her virtuous qualities. As children of God, we can use St. Alphonsa's life as an inspiration and learn from her actions. Corinthians chapter 3 verse 16 to 17 says, "Do you not know that you are the temple of God? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy that person, for the temple of God which you are is holy." The Word of God from Bible depicts exactly why and how we should live a life like St. Alphonsa. With this in mind, let us become vessels of St. Alphonsa and work to make our lives reflect her greatness. Finally, I would like to give thanks to our great God for keeping us safe during this pandemic. J. Christ.
Hello everyone. We all know about saints. They are very important people in our Catholic life. Saints are human beings who lived holy lives in obedience to God's will and are now in heaven for eternity. They help us to remember those who have gone before and spread the Christian faith throughout the centuries and across the world. Their lives inspire us to live a holy life. Who is St Alphonsa? St Alphonsa was the first canonized saint of the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church. She was also the first woman of Indian origin to be canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church. She was canonized by Pope Benedict XVI on the 12th of October 2008. She was a religious sister and educator. St Alphonsa was born on the 19th of August 1910 as Anna Muttata Bharata in a Syro-Malabar Nasrani family in Kadamullur near Kottayam. Her parents were Sian Ausaf and Mary Muttata Bharata. Her mother died when she was young, and she was raised by her maternal aunt. Ever since she was a child, her aspirations was always to be a nun. She has went through a lot of suffering at a young age. God has sent us St Alphonsa to show us that suffering is not only useful but necessary. She considers suffering as a gift from God. The secret to her holy life was that she carried on her ordinary tasks in an extraordinary manner. St Alphonsa stands as a challenge to the modern world who deplores their grief and miseries. St Alphonsa's life teaches us that he who does not carry his cross and follow our crucified Master is not worthy of him. She died at the age of 36 years after a series of health problems. She is the patron saint against illness and diseases relating to the feet. We celebrate the feast day of St Alphonsa on the 28th of July. She has made a massive impact upon millions of people, as many people from different backgrounds, nationalities and religion have visited her tomb in Baranganyanam. This shows us how important saints are to us Catholics and the massive impact they've made upon millions of people throughout time. Thank you.
I would like to share the message that I have received when I first read the story of St Alphonsa. Unless a grain of wheat fell to the ground and decayed, it cannot bear any fruit. St Alphonsa lived by this Bible verse all throughout her life. She prayed regularly since she was young. Her biggest inspiration was St Teresa as a child. One day while she was praying, she had a vision. It was of St Teresa calling her to serve people. This vision later led to her vocation to become a nun. In St Alphonsa's short life of 36 years, she suffered from TB, malaria, and she was bedridden for several months. But even though she was in pain, she still managed to have a smile on her face. St Alphonsa taught and believed that suffering was the greatest gift from God. She prayed that other people's sicknesses would leave them and go to her. She served people and dedicated her life to God. The secret to her holy life was that she carried on with her ordinary duties, but did them in an extraordinary manner. She said that Jesus is sufficient enough for me. So let us also live by these words and grow closer to Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Hello ladies and gentlemen. It is an honour to be here talking to you about St Alphonsa, one of my most favourite saints. St Alphonsa is not only the patron saint against illnesses and diseases related to the feet, but also the first native woman in India to become a saint. St Alphonsa is also the patroness of Cherupushka Mission League. Alphonsama, who is lovingly called as Anukuti, was born to religious parents, Mary and Joseph. She was born in a small parish called Kudamalur in the state of Kerala in India on the 19th of August 1910. She was the fourth child and was baptized according to the Syro-Malabar rite. Anukuti's mother died when she was very young, and her protective aunt, Anna Murugan, to whom her mother, before she had died, had entrusted her as her adoptive mother. St Alphonsa was obedient and well-mannered. She put others before herself, showing her deep love and care for everyone. Her role model was Jesus, and she walked in the grace of God. The aunt brought her up compassionately, but equally strictly at the same time. Her great desire was to see Anukuti married and settled in life. But of course, God had other plans for her, and she began to spread the aroma of divine call from her early childhood. Anukuti, in order to get out of a marriage proposal, reached the point where she had to burn her foot by stepping into a heap of burning embers at the age of only 13. Unfortunately, this accident left her permanently disabled. It is said to be a self-inflicted injury to escape the pressure from her family. Furthermore, her desires to become a nun grew so much, she even sacrificed her material fortune and dedicated her life to Jesus Christ wholly. St Alphonsa made her solemn profession of religious vows on the 12th of August 1936. After she became a nun, she taught in an elementary school in Birmingham. The children loved her because she was kind, amiable, and always wore a beautiful smile. However, she remained silent when she was in agony. St Alphonsa went through so much pain in her life, like terrible attacks of double pneumonia, memory loss, stomach disorder, and her body was left weaker than before. Even though she was confined to her bed, her love for Jesus was deep and composed. She prayed for the children and all her prayers were heard. After suffering, Alphonsa went to the Lord at the age of 35 on July 28, 1946. Many miracles had taken place after her death, and St Alphonsa's tomb became a place of pilgrimage. On the 8th of February 1986, Pope John Paul II canonized Alphonsa. Her feast day is celebrated all around the world on the 28th of July. Just as St Alphonsa said, "Whatever you do it for the love of Jesus." Let us all live by this quote and take St Alphonsa as our role model for life, so that we may consciously commit ourselves and work together to create happiness. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tessa and I'm in Year 10 from the Marseille Mission, Canterbury. I would like to talk about St Alphonsa and how her life has influenced the Syro-Malabar Church and society today. First off, I'd like to start with a quote from St Alphonsa herself. "Whatever you do it for the love of God. Don't only work to please the superiors." This quote beautifully describes the loving, virtuous and prayerful life of St Alphonsa. Her family played a key role in her faith formation and her love for Christ. This was done through prevailing practices of evening prayers, observance of weekly fastings, and attendance of Eucharistic celebration. This is something that we all have in common with St Alphonsa as we continue to attend Holy Kurbana and partake in catechism. However, we must also realise the fact that St Alphonsa developed a personal love and devotion to God. She yearned for sanctity and spirituality. One of her biggest role models was St Therese of Lisieux. After reading her biography, St Alphonsa zealously aspired to become a saint. Later, her decisive Christian upbringing led her to become a Clarist nun at Valningana. St Alphonsa had sickness and pain as her companions throughout life. She realised that suffering is good and valuable for her own growth in holiness and that of the world. St Alphonsa said that life is like a grain of wheat, and if it does not die it cannot bear new fruit. Similarly, when Jesus died on the cross, he created a new life in the hearts of many. So, how has St Alphonsa influenced the Syro-Malabar Church? Well, the central message of the life of St Alphonsa is that to experience Christ, we must show appreciation for Jesus' suffering and also offer our own suffering to God in love. St Alphonsa is also a great role model for everyone who is part of the Syro-Malabar Church, as she shows us that anyone who lives an ordinary life can become a saint and live a blessed life. She was declared a saint on October 12, 2008 by Pope Benedict XVI. The miracle attributed to her intercession and approved by the Vatican for canonization was the healing of a clubfoot of an infant in 1999. She is the first canonized saint of the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church, and she is the patron saint against illnesses, diseases related to the foot, the Chairperson Mission League, and India. Her feast day is on July 28th, and on this day, thousands of people converge in the small town of Valningana, where they celebrate the feast of St Alphonsa from the 19th to the 28th of July each year. Her tomb has been designated as a pilgrimage site, with numerous miracles being reported by pious devotees. As most of us are unable to attend this pilgrimage at the moment, we must pray to God to invoke his blessings to us, especially on the sick, as numerous cures have been related to St Alphonsa. I would like to end with another powerful quote from St Alphonsa. "No matter what my suffering may be, I will never complain. And if I undergo any humiliation, I will seek refuge in the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Thank you.
ചെമ്മഞ്ഞക്കൊടി പിടിക്കും കൈകൾ ക്രിസ്തുവിനായി പണിയെടുക്കും കൈകൾ വയറുകളെ വിളഞ്ഞ വയറുകളെ വിളവെടുക്കുവാൻ ഞങ്ങൾ അണിനിരക്കുന്നു